And I think, and yes, Lynch played a certain role in this inspiration, and I bring him up, but he is by not the only one. Stanley Kubrick's 2001, at the end of that, The White Room was very much an inspiration for the beginning of this film. But theater directors as well, Ivo van Hove, who is doing phenomenal things on stage right now. More modernist theater directors are doing white stages with like splashes of blood. Hedda Gabler, Ruth Wilson was in Hedda Gabler recently with a friend of mine, actually did it in, I believe, in the States and in the West End. And it's, I mean, Ivo van Hove sets these classic plays in a white room, and you have like a trunk on the floor, and you have the relationships in this heightened language, Strindberg or Ibsen or, you know, these heightened playwrights, but they're very modern settings. And so when blood is spilt, it stays on the stage.
Yeah.
And that is so immediate. It's so, that imagery is so powerful to me that you could take a picture of that and you know the story. You immediately know what's going on. And I wanted to embrace that. In the film I just directed called Smile for Me, which is the catcall all women have heard and hate, and I address that.
The look on your face when you said that. Wow.
I was not smiling.
No, you were not smiling. Wicked, folks.
Yes, yeah. But Smile for Me, it's a departure because I wanted to go a bit more gritty and a bit more like realistic, and we're on the streets of Brooklyn, and it's you can see the graffiti and the cobblestones, and like you see this guy stumbling home from a party, and it's all very real, but that is certainly not how Lovers felt to me. I wanted it to be impressionistic. I wanted it to be very stark, and to have these red images like flash in your mind. If you think about the film after you see it, you're going to see those red gloves and the tongue and the lipstick application and the blood on the forehead and the wig, and it's so funny. We actually started shooting. It was a 3-day shoot, middle of winter in Chicago.
Right.
And the first day I was working through with my producer, Keaton Wooden, who I love, and will work with him on anything. We decided like we had to start the first shoot day in the tub. So it's me and everybody is showing up on set. It's freezing cold. I'm shivering in this tub, and I have the wig on and I have the gloves and the shoes, and I have some crew members walk in. I have a gaffer, I have a grip, I have a couple like PAs, and some people who are friends of friends, and they came, and everybody on that set was phenomenal. But some people showed up and they were like, "What the hell is this? Like, what's going on?" Because out of context, you're just like, "What the fuck is that?"
Right,
like, it looks like maybe an album cover of some kind, but it's like, this isn't. Oh, how the fuck do you get here? Kind of thing. And I was like, but that's what I want. I want that image to be so stark, but once you go through the journey, you know exactly how she gets there. So anyway, those images were really important to me. Again, opening it up to not a gritty two-person conversation of just like, why do you do this to yourself? Like an argument between an abusive relationship. I didn't want to make it that I don't know, every day. I didn't want to be in the room with them. I wanted to be overwhelmed by the whole journey of a relationship basically taking place in the course of a day.
No, but it's a very detailed answer that gets to the crux on multiple levels with the aspect of the theatrical tie-in as well as where you were going with the images. Because when you see that kind of red, and it's, for me, I'm colorblind, so it looks green to me.
Really?
So it's a different entire way that I take in.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's entirely different way I take in. That's why the sound and score are so important to me, because they impact me differently. And it also takes the short in a different context with me also, with how the colors are represented and their role in it. But that's another story for another time.
Yeah.
But looking at this with Lovers, I mean, this is something that people are going to walk into not really knowing a whole lot. And, there are filmmakers out there who don't want to challenge an audience. They just want to put something out there because they have the technology, or they have the right, or they have this, or they have that. How important is it to challenge the audience, and how much does it stress you to have the audience maybe be judgmental of your situation? Because there's going to be people who are going to come up and of course they'll connect, but it's also going to stir something in them. There's several shorts this weekend where it's really kind of pushing what people believe, and that's the great thing about Horrible Imaginings. They want to test the audience, they want to challenge them because they respect the audience.
Yeah.
Does it inside you? Does it bother you if there's a negative reaction, and test what you've went through?
That's a great question. I think it's very possible to ruffle feathers with this because it's not a badass revenge story, right?
Yeah,
it's
very much.
It's not revenge,
No.
where you see a woman just decimated by these men and treated
And that's
so
a big
terribly.
push right now with #MeToo.
Absolutely. And I mean, Lovers could be seen as problematic because she doesn't retaliate. She doesn't.
Right.
I don't necessarily give you an answer, and that can be seen as problematic, quite honestly. And I understand that. But my goal wasn't to present someone who is better than the people sitting in the audience. I didn't want, because honestly, it took a very specific thing that helped me walk away. But that specific thing, and in talking about this film, I will not get very specific about
I understand that.
the circumstances, because I think honestly it takes away from
Just like having the dialogue.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I think the reason that I left my aggressor was so specific that my reason isn't going to be your reason.
Right.
And so I don't want to give that answer. My goal is to answer that question that we all hear in our brains or from outside. Why the fuck don't you leave?
Right.
Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Why are you putting up with this bullshit? Don't you think better of yourself? Don't you? And all of these, and it just makes you feel worse and worse. And the only thing that's going to make you feel better is love. And who gives you love is your aggressor.
Yeah.
So it's this vicious cycle of self-hatred and looking for the only person who can love you, who is the person who's beating the shit out of you. And it's just that cycle. And so instead of giving an answer, which I don't know, the answer for everyone is different. I mean, keep people close and make sure you have a support group. And I don't know what the answer.
Easier said than done, because
Yeah.
you go to them, then all of a sudden, you're giving up on what you were hoping for. There's that vulnerability. There's a lot of
Yeah.
moving parts, and coming again from a personal side of this and watching Lovers, just like,
Yeah.
what inspired it for you. It's very hard to go out to your family and friends and say, yeah, this isn't working. No, this is working great. We're just having a rough patch. Things are going on like that. And to be able to build
Yeah.
that circle is very tough. And real quick,
Yeah.
you've just made film festivals out to be a very vicious relationship, because people come here to watch the shorts, especially horror, and they're put through the ringer and they expect relief and they're not getting relief. So thank you for redefining film festivals for me.
No. I mean, absolutely. I think that's good. I think it's good that people didn't walk out from that block yesterday
No,
just
they
being
didn't.
like,
They loved it.
all right, do you want to get some everybody walked out just being like, holy shit.
Great conversation starters.
Great conversation starters. No, it's so good. But that's exactly what I wanted Lovers to be. It's not a revenge story. I'm not giving you an answer of what to do. I'm showing you why the woman stays. I'm trying to share why I stayed, because if we can take that judgment away from judging the friend who is in an abusive relationship and she's not leaving, there could be a part of someone that's like, what's wrong with her? Jesus Christ, how did she not? My goal was to show why the woman stays, why I stayed, because I kept seeing that smiling, happy, elated, best part of myself. And if I left, that was gone forever.
Right.
And so I don't give you an answer. I'm just trying to answer that question of why the fuck do you stay?
Yeah.
I'm trying to answer that question. And then from there, if we can all come to that place of empathy, then maybe collectively we can decide what to do.
I love that. Talk about the gore effects, because you go to some places that are, I think I said to you, it felt like an Asian influence with the tongue and the nails. And I mean, there's just a lot of stuff. And it's everyone that was around me cringed like hell, turn away. They can't watch it.
Good.
But it's like an angel having its wings ripped off its back. It's no longer allowed to fly, and each time it happens, and it starts off with just one, and then it moves into more, and the tools change, and the precision shows. And the score and soundscape kick in like that, dun dun dun, almost like a Jaws kind of feel when you know something bad is going to happen.
Yeah.
So talk about putting that gore on screen and how much of a complete process it was and challenge for you to do that.
Absolutely. Well, and I know we talked about this a little yesterday. And as I said, Dario Argento, he classically, his films are lit so beautifully, and so there's such
a day glow to all the colors and the blood and everything.
Oh my gosh, yeah, the blood is just like ketchup red, and like everything is just so heightened. But and I have different thoughts about filmmaking. Like, I don't see eye to eye with him with his films all the time. I think he's a fantastic artist, but one thing he said that I've always remembered and I will always take with me, and I think he's a genius for saying this, is he puts a piece of violence in his films that are so specific. Like, what did we say yesterday? The needle under the fingernail?
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
The needles on for opera on the eyes. You close your eyes, it's going to stick you.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah. And little things like that, like even stubbing of a toe, or like, what is it in Red?
Deep Red.
Deep Red. Yes, thank you. I think he hits his temple on the side of a table or something, like on the corner of it, and you're just like, oh, God, fuck, I've done that.
You feel it? Yeah.
Yeah, because like we've all stubbed our toes and just like, God damn it, like. So I wanted to start in that place that everybody in the audience, like everybody's had like a toenail like half fall off probably as a kid, or like, it's horrible. Like it's just but like even now you cringe at like just talking about it, but that's because you know what that is.
Right.
Not everybody's had their hair ripped out or like an eye gouged out, thank God. But I wanted to start in that place. I wanted to start the film in a beautiful, like, dreamlike sunrise in this projection. It's not a real sunrise, but the colors are warm and it's beautiful. And then we're taking her toenail off with a pair of pliers. We know what that feels like. Like, well, not that specifically, but we've had I've had my toenail ripped off before. It's so painful. And it's so disgusting. And immediately you're like, oh, I don't want to look at that. But I start you in a place of giving you this kind of dreamscape, but then being like, you know what this feels like. That hurts, right? And then moving on from there. And so we go from one single toenail. Clearly, he's been doing this systematically to the rest of the toenails. And he's pulling another
You're
one off.
hobbling her.
Yeah, exactly. And covering it up. And then the next scene is all of the fingernails.
So she can't reach out. And then the tongue with, I've been waiting for you to say something, and now you're going to say it. I'm going to wait and just take everything that you have.
That's exactly right. And so at the end, it takes her hair off, takes the eye, but then finally at the end, she keeps pointing to the boy, and maybe she's going to finally say something. Maybe she's going to bring up, what does he represent? Maybe a conversation is finally going to start. And he takes her ability to speak. And so that's yet another reason to not have dialogue. When she's finally going to say something, now she can't anymore. And so, again, building from a sense of pain that we can recognize into a pain that I hope to God no one watching this film has ever had their tongue cut out.
What are you talking about?
Jay, what happened to you? We were just talking. Yeah, but that was my approach to the gore. I didn't want it to be fantastical. I mean, it's very odd. I think the hair is like, holy shit.
And the way it's shot, because it's behind you, and that's where it's the opposite of what you talked about with Argento, where there's that, you know that this is going to happen. You know it's going to be terrible. You know it's going to. With the hair, it's different because you never see the hair during that sequence. All you see is it's being ripped out, and you're seeing it from behind his back. So he's got full power. He's got full stature, and it's just shot straight on. It's sterile, but it's powerful because each piece comes out. But the sequence for it, was it always the sequence of the feet and then the hands and the hair and then the tongue and such? Was that always the way you wanted it to be for what she's going through?
Pretty much. I always wanted to start with the toenail because that is so universal. Again, we've all stubbed our toes. Like, I thought
Right.
that was a good way of like turning that part of the audience's brain on to be like, you know what this feels like? Okay, here we go. Um, I pretty much always had the nails side by side, starting with the toe to fingernail. I think I flipped the eye and the hair at some point.
Okay.
But I felt that the progression needed to be what it is. Again, starting with the toe and fingernails, and then moving on to the hair. I wanted to move to this embarrassing scene of being out to dinner with all of these people, and all of the people in that in the projections, and those are live projections.
I was going to ask that. Yeah.
Yeah, 2 5K projectors.
Wow.
Crazy. Like choreographing around those to not have shadows everywhere was.
You are amazing
I
and well
am
deserving the award. Just for saying
insane.
that line right now.
Thank you. I am out of my goddamn mind. Thank you.
That's what love does to us, though.
Amen. That's exactly right. No, but I wanted to move to that because we start in this beautiful morning, right? If none of the violence happens, we're having a lovely day, right? We wake up in the morning with our lover. We go have a picnic maybe. Oh, look, there's a camera. You know, we can get like a picture taken. Oh, okay, well, now it's later in the day. Let's go get dinner.
Right.
And then as we move towards the end of the day, we go to a church, and the church, honestly, is that's nearing the end of her journey of this day that represents the whole of the relationship, but just going and asking God what to do. And the man, if you see him in that scene, he's shaking.
Right. The mirror is vibrating.
Shaking.
Yeah.
And Cole was so great at like coming to me and being like, what are you thinking about? And he did so much without me even having to direct him really on set because we had talked so much before. But he was just like, he came to me and he was like, I was like, how do you feel about her in this scene? And he was like, I'm really angry. I was like, why? He was like, because she's making someone other than me God. And I was like,
wow,
Cole, I fucking love you. That's that. And it gave me chills. And I was just like, try to inflict violence on me without touching me during that scene then.
And that's something I think you don't fall into a pitfall with.
Yeah.
Is you don't see him strike.
That's exactly right.
There's a line that always stuck with me on what a gentleman is. A gentleman is someone who does one thing on the outside but thinks something completely different. And the violence in his head is no doubt there by what he's doing to you physically. But he never once does it because he's cunning and he's smart and he's in control.
Yeah.
At least what he believes to be in control. And I think if you would have went out of your way, and I'll use conversion therapy as an example of this. Conversion therapy really, in my opinion, crosses that torture porn line.
Right.
And I have no issue with torture porn. It's part of the genre.
And admittedly by the filmmaker.
Exactly
as well.
right. And originally that's what it was supposed to go. And I think he exceeds it a little too much. Bears exceeds it a little too much. But that's my own personal preference.
Sure.
But if you had done that with Lovers, where you struck automatically, it would have fallen into the same old cookie cutter situation. And that makes it tough to be able to do because everyone wants to do without how they feel, even if it never happened. It's one of those aspects like, okay, I'm going to make an abuse film. Got beat up and smacked in the face. Check. Took everything I had. Check. You don't do that. Why?
I don't do that because it makes it too everyday.
Right.
It makes it too. I don't know if you see a man like backhand a woman, you know, like backhand her across the face.
Maybe in a 1930s gangster film. That's
yeah, right. But you kind of turn your brain off at that point. In a way, you're just like, oh, fuck him. Like that. Like part of you just turns yourself off. And I think the mystery of the man, how precise he is, it's just so cruel, but it's married with this weird kindness too. Like I just didn't want it to be a fight in a trailer park or like, you know, because like, and I'm from the South, I can say that.
Nah,
like,
it's okay. I'm from Jersey, so we got our share. So,
yeah. But again, I didn't want it to be something you could like walk by and see a couple fighting, and if you know, I didn't want it to be something you can see in everyday life. I wanted it to be very specific and very intimate. And the things that he does to her, he barely honestly, he barely touches her.
Right.
He uses pliers to take out the nails,
Yeah.
and he rips out her hair. He digs out her eye,
Right.
places a new one in, and uses these, silver scissors to cut out the tongue. But they're very, again, it's very heightened. It's not Saw. It's not hostile.
Right.
Because that's a completely different thing. And I think that would have overwhelmed the message and the dream nightmare I was trying to create. I didn't want it to live in the real world, so that it could be a bit more universal. Because when you see a man like backhand a woman and you see like a tooth come out, that's something very different than a woman in a milk bath and a man grabbing her tongue and just very cleanly slicing it off. Those are very different qualities of cruelty. And I wanted the more refined, I don't know, clean version.
It makes me think of Old Boy.
I fucking love Old Boy.
It makes me think of it because
Exactly
it's a penance
right.
for what is being done. And that's something, and maybe you can talk to this personally, because we're coming up on it, and I appreciate all the time talking about lovers here at Horrible Imagining. We're scratching the surface on it. Is there ever a feeling, because in Old Boy, he's cutting his tongue out for penance for what he's done, what he didn't know he was doing, but he's done, in the guilt.
Exactly.
In your relationship that you went through, in the aspect of your parents, as you brought up earlier, in this character, is there ever a feel of guilt and a deserving for being in that? Almost a penance for exactly what you said before, like, why would you fucking stay in this? You deserve what you're getting because you're choosing to stay in this. And this is the penance you're going to pay in order to feel better and, have some sort of peace within what your illusion of happiness is. Is there any of that feeling on any level leading to this production and in this production?
That's a great question. Yeah, I think I talk about being two different people during the production of this, actor and director. And I think, honestly, the actor part, I was playing a version of myself about a year and a half, 2 years prior. And that girl, I hated her. I was like, you fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Why didn't you see this?
Yeah.
Why didn't you deserve
Why
this.
did you make these choices?
Yeah, you deserve all the cruelty, all the tears. You deserve to fall asleep crying and wake up crying. I used to wake up crying. Like, how that's a sign. That's a sign. Yeah. But part of me, you're always cruelest to yourself. At least I am. I'm so judgmental of myself. I've gotten a lot better, but part of me directing myself in this was, yeah, you kind of do deserve this. And writing it, there is a part of me that's just like, I appreciate who I am now. I'm very happy with where I am. I'm excited to grow. I'm very imperfect, and I love working with others.
Perfectly imperfect.
Well, I appreciate that.
You're welcome. Yeah.
But I do think there's a certain amount of self-hatred in this, but with the view of, I think director me both loved and felt really sorry for this girl, and I wanted to put her through this to kind of show her, but director me was like, yeah, but I want to show this so that maybe someone else can recognize it and not go through this. So I think, of course, there's a certain amount of self-hatred when you go through a bad relationship and you get out too late, you think, or you put up with things for too long. But you're fucking human. And,
Right.
And, like, you can't be that hard on yourself. And sure, there's that masochistic part of you. But ultimately, yeah. And of course, like, I'm sure you've been through this too.
Still to a certain extent.
Yeah. And that's okay. We don't have to be... I'm sick of romantic comedies where relationships are perfect and like everything
They're
just
not?
ends up.
Fuck.
Well, that's the thing. We can't live up to that shit.
No?
Like, we model ourselves on the movies we watch. I hate to say it, but it's like our parents and the movies we watch.
Media, movies, everything.
Movies, Instagram of fucking.
Instagram, yes.
I
Social
can't
media.
be Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively. I don't know how to fucking do that.
And I don't have his comic wit. Sorry.
Exactly. And I'm sure they're fantastic people, but like, I can't live up to that shit. And when I don't, I fucking hate myself because I'm like, well, okay, I'm just gonna make what I'm in perfect. I'm gonna say that that's perfect. And so when it's not, you kind of hate the part of yourself that thought you could make that perfect. And nobody's perfect. My God, we're all like, are you happy? Do you feel better after being with that person? Are you learning? Are you growing? Are you a better person?
Right.
Do you genuinely feel like happier after talking to them? Or
There's no relationship that will ever create that, even with the most wonderful person you're with, because there's always that lingering doubt. There's always that little devil on your shoulder who's saying, it's not going to work.
yeah,
It's not going to happen for you. You're going to fuck this up. Even in your happiest moments, it's not going to be. It's being human.
yeah, absolutely. It is that duality. Making this film, that duality was at work so strongly as director and actor, because again, the actor part of me was just like, you fucking deserve, you deserve this. And the director part of me was almost like a mom, of being like, yes, you're going through this, but there is a greater purpose for this story. Yeah, I'm so glad I think for like the third time, I hate that so many people see themselves in this film.
Right.
But I am glad to be able to talk to them and communicate with them and share this with them.
One thing I'll be interested to hear from you as it hits the fest trail and plays more festivals, and there's more dates coming.
Yeah.
People who are abusers, when they look at your film, and even if they've reformed, even if they've moved away from that, even if they've changed their life, because people can change.
Sure.
It's the importance of wanting to change, which is the trick.
Yeah.
I deal with it every day in my other field
Yeah.
with special needs and behavior modification, and I'm a product of it as well.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see if that reflection, if they look in the mirror as someone who was a victim that became an abuser, that is a survivor. And that is ultimately exceptionally powerful. And I think that this short has a longer shelf life than just festivals, with how beautiful it is, with the message it is, with the lessons that can be learned with it. And I'll be interested to talk with you about that as we go forward.
Thank you so much. And on that note, I would just say that cycle of abuse, people who have been abused do become aggressors.
Right.
For
right.
sure, which is shown at the very end with
And
the boy.
abuse is fluid. It can be everything from bullying to sexual to verbal. I mean, there's a ton out there.
Absolutely. There's financial abuse,
Right,
like
exactly.
withholding money. That kind of manipulation it permeates through every part of life. I mean, you can use things as weapons.
Right.
And the end of the film, I wanted to put the boy there to show this cycle of abuse, of him picking up that part of the mirror, putting it to
Exactly.
his face and trying it on and seeing like, huh. And you've been with this boy, this mysterious little
It's
sweet
frightening.
boy. It's such a horrifying final image to see. And I love Jack. He's like the son of like two of my best friends in the world. His first acting role.
Wow. He's great.
He's unbelievable. I love him so much. He has no idea what the film is actually about, by the way. But that final image was so important to me, because abuse, if someone is abused or sees abuse, it continues, because it's a behavior, it's a learned behavior. And I do believe people can reform. I do believe that. And I just hope, again, I don't want to hit people over the head of just being like, you fucking bastard. I wanted to answer the question, why does she stay? That was my purpose with this film. And honestly, like, if you're talking religion, if you're talking politics, if you're yelling at somebody, they're just going to shut their door on you. There's no conversation to be had. The silly little parable about the sun and the wind, and they're arguing about taking a man's coat off. There's a man down below, and the sun and the wind are just like, oh, I can take his coat off. So the wind is just like, well, let me try. So he starts blowing cold, hard wind. So the man just like grabs it tighter and tighter and tighter, and the wind's like, oh, okay, I can't. All right, you try. And the sun just beams down, like not trying, not harsh, but just growing warmer and warmer, just this soft light. And the man just takes the coat off. And so I don't want to be the wind. I don't want to be like, this is what you should think and this is what you should do. Because I don't know. I shouldn't give people advice about their lives. Like, what the fuck do I know? But all I wanted to do was answer that question. Why does she stay? I wanted to be that I wanted to kind of be a bit more like the sun and just say, this is my answer to the question. And then what do you want to do with that?
Let me finish it with this. And, of course, is the only way to finish that I know, and that is beyond thank you. Talk about the sound design.
Oh, yes. Well, thank you. And
You're welcome.
Darren Callahan was my composer on this, LA-based composer. Everybody look him up. Everybody reach out. He is fantastic, an amazing screenwriter in his own right.
Right.
And he, this is Darren's kind of movie. Like this, when I showed him the cut of this, he got this score to me so fast. Like I couldn't even believe it. He started building soundscapes of like, he sent me a bunch of different tracks and he was just like, what do you think of this? And he just helped me create, I don't know, he helped me create the emotion of it. I don't even know how to describe it because it just sounds like pure emotion to me, what he created.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, and he just built the emotional journey of it. I mean, of the foreboding and the love and the, you know, when she looks up and first sees him and her reflection, it's just this like like it just grows into this like Romeo and Juliet and Baz Luhrmann moment of just like joy. And then later when he like is approaching, like takes the tablecloth away and the table's gone and like approaches behind her, we just feel this like like this deep earth rumble that is somehow kind of music but kind of not. And when he's pulling, you know, faster and faster and faster, we hear like these horns come in and it's almost operatic, and then it's just gone. And he just constructed that so beautifully. And then on top of that, my sound designer, Derek O'Rourke, he's based in Germany, but I met him in Chicago. These are all Chicago people. My Chicago people. I live in New York now. Chicago is one of my homes. I am not from there, but the people, the
You were
artists,
adopted.
I was really adopted by the most amazing group of filmmakers. Ward Crockett, my editor, who Sterling knows, Ward Crockett is one of the, I can't say a bad thing about anybody who's worked on this film. I just love them all. But Derek, he got the score and he was like, okay, I want some ADR. And we actually talked back and forth because there is that, I love you.
Right, exactly.
Throughout. And we talked about it and he's like, it was like a Skype call or something, and he was just like, well, I want to make sure every time she sees her reflection in him that we remember how much she loves him. And so I was like, that's great. And so we talked about, I gave him a bunch of options. I went to the SAG voiceover office in New York, which is amazing, a great resource because it's free for SAG actors. So I get to go in there and just like play, which is so fantastic. And so I gave him a ton of options. But one thing we agreed on, sound-wise, there is not meant to be any scream.
Yes,
There are no screams in this movie, and that is purposeful.
The scream is what you see in the emoting of your face.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the only thing that gets close is when he's digging out her eye, and there's that like that really high note that almost is a scream, but there's not enough breath behind it. And we just talked. I was like, I don't want to give you any kind of like big catharsis, because a scream is a catharsis. A straight-on hit is a catharsis. I don't want to give you that payoff. I want to be Lynn Ramsey about it. I want to do like You Were Never Really Here and be super Lynn Ramsey about it and be like, you want to see this? I'm not going to give it to you. I'm sorry. But it keeps that tension. And because if you give those moments of release, you can breathe a little bit. I don't want you to breathe. I want you to be with it till it like to black. So I think, again, a long answer to your question, but Darren and Derek, they just danced back and forth with both of their designs, and all three of us at some point, and we were just like, yep, that's it.
I want to thank you for the time so much.
Thank you so much. My God, Jay.
Congratulations on the award. Congratulations on the continuous amazing track down the Fest Trail. And I know Brooklyn.
Yep.
Brooklyn will be playing, and where else?
Sieges.
I'll see you there.
Yes.
I'll see you there. Hopefully I'll see you there. I'll be in the second half of the weekend or the week, so hopefully I'll see you there.
I'll see you in Spain.
But if
then.
not, we have much more to see from you coming up as Miguel passes out from the overwhelming power of your shirt.
We love you, Miguel.
We love you, Miguel. Oh, actually, where on social media?
Oh, social media. You can on Instagram at Emily R. Bennett on Instagram. My acting website is emilyreneebennett.com. I have yet to put together a full directing website yet. I plan to do so. Yeah, follow me on Instagram. I post about stuff all the time, so that's probably the best place to find me.
We are here at Horrible Imaginings for Scratching the Surface.